Well, well, well. Okay, we've arrived, everybody. This is the moment everyone's been waiting for. Heck, the whole tournament was the moment I was waiting for. What can I say? Thank you, everyone, for showing up today. Everyone that participated, everyone that helped out. I know we're not done yet. We've still got the finals left, but thank you so much. Like, this has been an absolute blast. We have our two finalists here. We have 2C and we have Roll. We saw how close last race was. It was like, what, 7 seconds? I didn't catch the final time. It was ridiculous. But Dream Hazard's going to join me here on commentary, and I'm actually going to stick around for the finals. I figured I could help out for the end piece. So I'm going to let them know that we're going to kick this off, and we'll get this going. All right, so yeah, we basically, I don't think we can call this, but DH, if you want to take this for a moment, I am going to set up a prediction and let everyone try and call this, because why not?
Yeah, this is going to be a close one. I mean, it's impossible to call at this point. We have seen both runners do incredibly. I don't have the words. It's exciting. That's all I can really say at this point. I am excited.
All right, I'm giving everybody 15 minutes to get in on this prediction. I feel this is absolutely generous. This will give a little extra time if anyone comes in after the fact. We know that these races can change at the drop of a hat. We saw it last race. We see how fast it can change with the death. If a runner takes a death right before a checkpoint and the other runner doesn't, that's basically a big time gain for one versus the other. It can happen to anybody with the instant death spikes that are present in this game.
Yeah. We have also seen how effectively they can recover from these kind of things as well, though. 2C in the last race, he took 6 deaths in total and still managed to come out ahead.
Yeah, honestly, we can spot little differences here and there, and everyone's gonna have their own style, as we've kind of noted throughout the duration. One thing actually I don't think we touched on for a couple races, and it's a little more kind of in-depth tech, and it was something that I'd originally noticed when I'd first played the game, and we kind of theorized, is this a actual boost or is this a camera skip? And I don't think we've necessarily seen any of our runners actively go for it, and I wouldn't suggest that they do in this setting. But we've talked about ledge clips in the traditional sense of being able to clip up onto ledges, but you can also do a ledge boost. So there's essentially an opportunity to save a 3-frame window if you jump before the end of a ledge, and you can get pushed forward. Depending on where you do it, you can get either, I guess, a 3 or 2 or a 1-frame boost, depending on your position in relation to that ledge. So ideally, what you would do is every ledge that you come across that you could potentially jump off without, stopping, pressing left, right, etc., or disrupting your otherwise normal motion, you're going to want to do these little ledge hops, because you can save 3 frames per, basically. I don't think we're going to see anyone going for it. That was kind of the little animation right there. If you just saw on 2C side, there's a little extra kick animation. And we theorized, does this save time for a while? Let's try it because it doesn't hurt anything per se. And then it was confirmed when we started having someone, Hitachi, who I saw in chat earlier today, was doing some task work with the game. So fun fact for everyone, there's an extra little bit of tech. Once you get to the absolute redonkulous level, you can start trying to ledge boost everything.
Yeah, there's some amazing work being done on the TAS.
The 1 cycle mecha dragon, hello. definitely something to keep your eye on. Like, I've taken a liking to tasks myself, more so in the last year and change. I've done a couple of Castlevania tasks, Castlevania Legends and Chronicles one. Nice ledge boost by 2C there. Or sorry, yeah, ledge clip. You got the early cycle, which is nice. We'll see if Roll goes for it. Roll's having to wait the cycle. But yeah, I have a real appreciation for tasking, and it's something that it's really nice that we can task a game that's released this late and this modern. So keep an eye out for that. We have a whole channel in the Discord dedicated to that for those that want to follow that. It's pretty standard. 2C took an extra hit. It shouldn't make a difference. Although it's going to leave him without a little extra damage. Opportunity for Roll to catch up here. The basis of what you're trying to do on this fight basically is you stand in a certain position in which his first star doesn't hit you, the second one knocks you back, and then you move forward enough that you can continue to hit him. And take one more hit as he goes to the left, and you basically follow him for optimal damage. Roll definitely picked up a little bit of time in that fight. 3 whole frames. That's right, DJ. You too can have 3 whole frames every ledge.
Yeah, it's per ledge, so
yeah.
You're talking tens of frames.
Yeah.
Over the course of the game.
Roll just did it twice on the checkpoint and the quick warp there, so he picked up like potentially 6 frames in that one room. We equated it basically to Super Metroid arm pumping. I think was the best comparison we came up with. It's one of those things that you may not notice, and especially if you don't know what's going on and what to look for, but potentially could save a lot of time over the course of an hour-long run. If you don't beef it while you're trying to. Oh, 2C taking a little extra trash to the face. Save the frames.
This level really reminds me of Revenge of Shinobi, with the whole like all the compacted trash falling down.
Okay, so it looked like I hadn't noticed that before, but 2C going for a death warp and then okay,
taking a death.
Yeah. So I haven't seen that strat myself before, actually. I hadn't watched his latest PB. He got the damage boost going out of that room, though, which is nice. Which means he gets to skip cycle there. So he took the damage boost and able to set up the laser cycle to make it in one cycle off of the checkpoint, which is pretty smart, but it's also very tight there. The key to this laser brain fight essentially is you want to preserve the trash that you're standing on through a couple methods. He tried to deboost there and he didn't jump quite high enough. But you can bait the shots if your timing is good and if you're on pattern. You also want to destroy the turret because the turret will destroy the trash pieces as well. So the goal is basically get in 3 slashes per jump and destroy the turret before it destroys the trash, and prevent the shots from hitting the trash. Also, you can just keep standing on laser brain and hit them. Everyone's favorite fly elevator. They actually made this easier on most recent patch. So a little bit of patch knowledge for everyone while we're going through the auto scroller. There is 1.03, which is current for PC users right now, and everyone's kind of awaiting 1.04. Console users, all console users, are on 1.01 right now, and will remain on 1.01. Everything's going to get synced up at 1.04. It has to do basically with the complexity of the schedule release when it comes to consoles. It's a little more strict than something like Steam, where Mecha can just push out an update and we're all happy campers. So if you're a console player, I'm sorry, you're still going to have to deal with the harder fly elevator and the few extra enemies and things that come along with that. But we're all going to sync up on 1.04 and then life is good.
So are there any speed differences between patches currently? Significant that affects the run?
I would say that in terms of just quality of life, the big one is the ability to parry during iframes. So if you're on 1.01, you can't parry during iframes. And if you're a new player, I guarantee you that you've tried to parry, taken the damage, tried to then parry in panic by parrying the next shot, and you can't physically do it because you're in iframes. And then the next shot ends up being inside your hitbox when you come out of those iframes, and you get hit again, and it's a vicious cycle. The big gain, I would say, for both your casual players and your speedrun quality of life in terms of potential and whatnot is probably mostly in the iframe parry. I think it was mentioned earlier that Mecha added this, EGAD mentioned it during last race, that Mecha added this really nice indicator. So when your character is flashing during iframes, you basically get this semicircle that's blue in front of you to indicate kind of where that parry range is, and so you can clearly see it. Because if your character's flashing, it's really hard to then line up a parry. So he did that kind of for quality of life purposes. So not only can you do it, but you then have a visual indicator. Right, 3 is my cat jam. See the cat jams in chat for 3. There's a lot of good songs. We all have one. Or, okay, we all have like half a dozen, but what am I talking about? One.
Yeah, it's chapter 1 for me. I think
that's a good thing though. If you're going to be resetting a lot, like chapter 1 has to be.
You start a new game and you're just like, this is really hype. I'm walking into this new game and I'm excited to play it because the music's so good, and it's right there from the beginning.
I feel like we all sleep on 2. And I don't know why, but I feel like 2's a real banger, and like we just never talk about it. And I don't think anyone would necessarily disagree. I just think we are all so busy talking about other ones that we never actually say it.
I think that's why it's good kind of enjoying the chapter 1 as much as I do, because it's the same in other games. You'll hear, oh, I really like this level, and I guess if you run the games, especially the early tracks, kind of, you just get so used to hearing them, you don't get hype over them anymore.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Like, it's one thing if you've heard it like 100 times, but once you've heard it like 1,000 times or 10,000 times, depending on your desire of grind, some of them are out there. you can get a little tired of stage 1. That being said, if you're a new runner, I think one thing I would suggest to anyone that wants to pick up this game, or is still fairly new at this game and is kind of like cutting their teeth, I think the biggest thing I can say is don't get Green Hill Syndrome, which basically means don't sit there and reset looking for that top-notch, ideal, picture-perfect chapter 1, so much so that you don't play the rest of the game. I guarantee with a game of this difficulty and this length and how much time you're going to need to memorize all of your rooms and forge your strats, it's going to benefit you most to do full runs. So it's easy to get tunnel vision. My best recommendation is don't. Like, look ahead and say, yeah, you know what? That stage 1 might have been great. Might not have been great. Did I die? No. Did I lose a couple minutes? No. It's an hour-long plus run, depending on where you're at. You've got that time to save in late game. I guarantee you've got that time to save in late game. Because we've all had that terrible death rate before that checkpoint and go, oh, and then you still PB and you go, oh, I know that's in there too.
But then you go, free time save next time.
Exactly. So do full runs is the best advice I can give for this game.
Yeah. And that's not just for this game, that's for every game.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always going to be exceptions. Everyone has their own style and what works best. But that is my general catch-all, is don't get caught up honing in on that stage 1 so much that you just don't experience the rest of your speed game.
I'd say for any game that has kind of progression and like you upgrade as you go. So anything where you start out with a basic skill set and then things change as you go along. You know, you pick up shuriken.
Oh, we might have lost DH there for a moment. It's true, you do pick up shuriken, and then you pick up additional stuff as you go. This is actually something I was talking about earlier in chat, and I'll actually finish that thought. It's basically a slow burn, and I understand people love the dash, and I understand people love all of the skills the game has to offer. It's a slow burn, and I think that's something that you have to practice in your skill set as well, because how you play the game changes a lot between not only 1 and 5, but then like 5 and 6, 6 and 7. So again, sticking to stage 1 and sticking to the walkathon is not going to be to your benefit when all of a sudden you have to dash and the game feels like a completely different experience.
Right.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh, did I disconnect?
You kind of cut out. I heard a little bit of robot, and then you were just gone after the word shuriken.
Oh. That's odd.
Yeah, so I just kind of picked it up and went with it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I couldn't hear you on my end, and then when you came back, I was like, yeah, you must have been talking.
No worries, we got this. Yeah, 2C making quick work of the boss there. And Rollllll's just getting in there now. I guess another quality of life patch difference that we didn't touch on, which you're actually going to see in a moment. We've talked about taking Swag Blade into Monkey Shrine and the consequences of that. The benefit being here, 2C? Get it? Nice. The benefit of it being you get to hit it with the blade and save time on the explosives. On the original patch, you would go into Monkey Shrine, and your detriment was that the Swag Blade would end up hitting the lanterns along the way. It could cause you to fall. It could take away your opportunities for shortcuts. Mecha actually dealt with this in the patch by making... Nice ledge clip. By making the lanterns in this section specifically, and only this section because you want it to break later, he made the lanterns invulnerable to the Swag Blade. So this is no longer as scary as it was on release. This is a much more favorable strat to do now. But as mentioned earlier, you can do this on old patch if you're just kind of particular about your movements.
Yeah, so I had that issue casually. I was trying to think before where it was that I'd had issues, where the Swag Blade was causing issues, and yeah, it was in that monkey section.
Yeah. Another neat thing, you just saw it on roll screen there. That was not a glitch out on his stream. If you do the fast fall from an incredibly high distance, you don't even see the animation or the fall. You just appear on the ground. So there's a couple more opportunities. We're going to see that later. I'll try and point them out maybe in advance if I remember. But keep an eye out for that. Any fast fall opportunity from a great height, you're basically just going to see the player show up on the ground.
It feels bizarre to see that kind of while you're doing it.
It's almost disorienting the first time it happens. Like me,
Right.
I stopped the first time it happened. I was like, whoa, what was that?
Did I break it?
Yeah. Was that intended, or like, did I glitch, or yeah. It takes you by surprise. Then you just realize that it happens everywhere. And it's useful. There it was again. Thanks, 2C. This stage can be deceptively rough, which is funny because I feel like when you go into this and it goes well, it's completely fine. But sometimes on the right day, those flying platforms just cause you so much havoc. It's like they're sentient. Okay, 2C showing off one of my favorite facts that most people don't know, that you can just walk on those things.
Which things?
The cores with like the rotating.
Yeah.
There's another one coming up here. You can walk on top of those.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't know that. 2C got some really favorable drops from that container there on the ground. I don't know what you'd like to call it. I don't think we touched on drops on earlier races as well. The game basically has like two types of drops. It has RNG drops, and it does have set drops as well. And this is something that actually does relate to patches. Current patch does have more favorable SP drops. So if you are a current patch player, 1.03 player, you will get a little more favorable SP throughout the entire run, which is, who's going to say no to that? Console player, yay, I can't wait until I experience that. That being said, it's like SP management is huge within the run, and it pays to know not only where they are, but what to do if you don't get the big drops. Because in that drop outside of cyberspace, sometimes you can get 2 of the big drops, which give you 3 apiece, so you can just fill right up. Or sometimes you can get 2 small drops, so you can get 2 SP. So from that point on, you then have to decide, what am I going to do with either my 5, because 5 or 6, depending if you're grabbing the SP drop in stage 2. What am I going to do with either my 2 or my 5 or 6? Because it then has to last you until your next potential SP farm location. So that's really a big part. And health drops usually play into it in a way where if the player is at 4 or lower health, the item will situationally drop health. And if they're at 5 or above, it'll drop, I don't know if you want to call it currency. But yeah, that's kind of how drops work in a nutshell in this game.
Stuff like that really fascinates me, how not only how it's put into the game, but how then we discover that it's in the game, or we're told that it's in the game, and it changes things. It changes the pathing that we can make, because there's more information, there's more known about the game, so we can make decisions based on what we know is coming up and what we don't know.
Fox Zero correcting me. It is Essence, correct. I'm not going to lie. I love the game. I don't think after my first run where I was like reading everything, I don't think I read anything ever again. And that is not a slight at the game at all, because I love the game. I just love to go fast in the game. So I'm not reading the text boxes. But thank you.
It's evidently time shots.
Yeah, it really is. Like, Quarble straight up goblin those things.
Oh man, that's going to make Quarble ill.
Our runners are still pretty close. It's worth noting that like 2C does have a lead and is going to be going into Mecha Dragon first, but like Roll is not very far behind, and this is something that can easily change with a single death. That's just potentially bad. Gotta go fast, exactly. Chat knows what's up. Mecha Dragon likes to make you not go fast. Let's see what happens to 2C. Alright. A little far to the right. His fireball distribution was good. His platform situation right now is not. It wasn't bad. Hoping for a 3 cycle here. That was a little bit of a rough spawn. There we go, 4 cycle. My name is Mecha Dragon and I hate speedruns. That is not a lie. Yeah, it was with Roll. I think that was Roll's first cycle. I just glanced over. Looked pretty good. Okay. Roll really close. So Roll was using a little bit of a newer strat that we've come up with. The Charge Blaster, initially we kind of took it into the fight to use against these platforms and save your SP and kind of like manage them. What we've taken to doing now is the Charge Blaster, when fully charged, just does a ton of damage, frankly. So we've taken to trying to farm SP while he's doing his movements, but stopping in time that the Charge Blaster has time to fully charge up, and when he pops out of the water, hit him with that Charge Blaster before you start your other attacks. The trade-off here is you can't farm SP as long because you're not going to get the fully charged shot. Yeah, it's a lot to manage in a fight. The task can one-cycle that fight, for anyone wondering. And humans can two-cycle that fight, but it's real tough. And you have to just, like, you have to predict where he's going to be correctly. It's not the I'm going to play it safe in the middle of the room strat. It's the I'm going to try and just guess this and hope. 4-cycle's really good. Like, I'm not at all knocking a 4-cycle. 3-4-cycle is totally respectable. If I see a 2-cycle in a run, I'm like, are you kidding me? And if I see a 1-cycle in a run, well, we have to have a different discussion.
We will have to analyze that.
Yeah. So our runners, we talked about the 80% skip, and we did a little fun prediction on it in the semis. There's two ways to do this skip. You can either take the E-Shield or E-Field, I forget which one it's technically called, into this boss fight, or you can do it with the Charge Blaster. If you're going to do it with the Charge Blaster, generally you want to not get hit in this section. The benefit is it saves you an additional 50 essence, which you could use to your benefit later. Roll, unfortunately, taking a hit there. See what he's going to opt to do here. But first we were just deboosting the reactor fight, and then there was a damageless 1-cycle that was shown, and it was like, okay, we have a lot of leeway to work with in this fight. But the idea is you're going to want to have the most amount of HP left on your sub-weapon that you can, while hopefully also potentially 1-cycling this. Very nice job by Roll there. He did not take damage. He went into that with 1 hit already on his sub-weapon. This gives our players more leeway for the skip, and they're going to want to carry this sub-weapon through the duration of the next stage and up to a certain part right before Alpha 1 where you can hit the button through the wall because sub-weapon projectiles pierce walls. So both players basically have 1 hit of buffer here, and they're going to hope to not take 2. And the skip itself, I think, saves, we talked it out to be like 25, 30 seconds or something. Oh. And we get to see 2 versions. We see 2 different sub-weapons going to be used.
Mecha, please don't patch.
No. So a really fun, actually, fact about that as well, because I believe Bobby touched on indie games and developers in indie games and the relationships that speedrunners have with indie developers, which is a very kind of like symbiotic relationship that can be mutually beneficial, which is awesome. Yeah. Shoutouts to Mecha, by the way, who's been very transparent. Like, I've DM'd Mecha directly in regards to info and stuff. Like, very, very nice person to deal with. Very straightforward. Mecha has actually said directly they will not release a patch that is slower. So for the sake of speedrunners, we already had a rule in place basically that you always have to do your runs on latest patch, just as kind of a safety before the game had come out. But then Mecha's like, you don't even need to worry about it because I will literally not release a slower patch for the sake of you guys.
Yeah, this is why we love indie. Because I've had the same conversation with other devs.
Yeah, sabotage, like we talked about Messenger.
Exactly, yeah, and it's been exactly the same conversation that even when they've patched things that have made certain aspects slower, the time saves overall have well outweighed that when they did the first patch with the tech smashing.
Yep.
That saved so much time that because they fixed a problem with the abomination skip.
Yeah. They actually, I remember they mentioned that they coded around it. So what they did is they knew that we used the abomination skip, and they coded in a fix for casual players that allowed us to still do it intentionally, which is, you can't ask for any more than that. By the way, it's worth noting both our players got the skip. Congratulations. Everyone gets to save time. Unless we find a wrong warp. I don't even know how we would find a wrong warp. I mentioned this actually in chat during semis as well, and we've touched on it in regards to the game as New Game Plus potential. I've successfully sequence broken from Chapter 3 all the way into 10. Just after the Combinatron, have we come up with a phrasing of how we're actually pronouncing that? It feels bad every way it comes out, so I don't know. It's possible to go to Chapter 5, backtrack to 3, and then go directly from 3 to 9. You can do 3. You can do Chapter 9 without charge, without double jump. It's hard as hell. I have a video of it snipped together in all pieces. If anyone wants to see it, I would never recommend anyone do it. It's a terrible experience, but it's possible, and we can get all the way there because you can't get through the charge wall to destroy after that boss. There is, and this is a piece of tech that exists, but you will likely not see in any of the runs. We haven't seen it yet from what I've caught, and you will likely not see it in any runs intentionally. There is a small piece of tech where you can clip through a small wall if an enemy is like basically snugged up right against it. And originally it was 1 or 2 tiles. Mecha did say that he patched it, but it's happened on latest. I don't think it's happened to anyone through a 2 tile on latest. But, you skip through a wall in Chapter 9 by doing a dash attack that you're normally supposed to destroy with your fully charged up blade. But yeah, it's there's so much potential to this game, and I feel like this is something I said really early on in the lifespan of it. Was like, looking at month 1 runs, can you imagine year 1 runs? Can you imagine year 5 runs? Like, we are barely scratching the surface of this game, even today.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about before. Getting in so early, right at the beginning of a game's life cycle, and you see the kind of there's a cycle to it. It starts off with just doing it fast, and then more tech is found, and more tech is found, and 2 years from now, it's going to look completely different.
I'm super excited. Like, the community contributions cannot be understated in this game. Like, if you go check out the strats channel in the Discord, there is boss strat pins from multiple individuals who have put in the time optimizing things. Subject Alpha 2 that we just saw, it's a really tight window, but you can actually one cycle that boss. You have to do it perfectly. Cheers to X Dragon, who posted the video that he spent literally a day grinding out that one cycle to show everyone that you could humanely do it. So it was awesome. All right, we get to go fast here. Everyone's favorite time. Exactly. They're still finding things in Super Mario Bros., Super Metroid. Look at Ocarina of Time. You want to talk about a very popular speed game that has gotten just busted in the last little while. Like, that was already busted. Link to the Past is another great example. There's so much great new Link to the Past tech coming out.
I think any game that gets a randomizer is going to have new tech found all the time.
True.
I think that's pushing new people to run these games. It's pushing people to try things that they wouldn't normally try. And so they're trying things to bypass certain locks that they would need to get past, and they would need to go kind of the long way around for a lot of things. They're finding ways to bypass these, to skip areas that they would need an item for or an ability for. And I think that's driving new tech in speed gaming. I think Link to the Past is kind of the big one for randomizers. That it seems to be the most popular that I've seen, at least.
Oh, most definitely. Link to the Past was my first rando, and there was a time where I was doing like 3 seeds a day, every day type of thing, like hooked. And ironically enough, I don't do Link to the Past rando standalone anymore. Nice room. Oh, TwoCplus. That was an amazing room until it wasn't.
Oh.
Yeah. taking unfortunately a second one.
Don't tilt. Don't
Yeah.
tilt.
This section is so easy to tilt because
Yeah.
the spikes are everywhere. You're kind of just finding your legs, and I don't mean that as a joke because you just got the run ability. Um, it's because your gameplay fundamentally changes when you hit this stage. Everything up until now has been walking, and it's a real weird midpoint between what Samurai is pointing out. You have dash, but you don't have double jump.
Yeah.
And it messes you right up because the majority of the game that you play with dash, you have double jump. So I'm guilty of it. I guarantee you every runner in chat is guilty of this. We've all come to this stage, thought we had double jump, and went, aw, no.
So what we were saying before about make sure you always do full game, practice this segment on its own as well.
Yeah. And recognize when you get here, as excited as you are to have that dash, you're in that one moment of that run where you're just like, I need to be a little more conservative. Outskirts too. Like, Outskirts is a tough level any way you slice it. And we're going to see that. But if you have that brain fart and you think you have double jump in Outskirts, oh man. Spikes everywhere. Especially if you don't have SP too. This is this I think is my biggest make or break for if I have SP versus if I don't have SP. Very nice wall by 2C there. The walls can be a complete nightmare.
Yeah.
No SP in this section is just terrible. It's terrible for dealing with the enemies. It's terrible because, again, you don't have that double jump. So if you get stranded after a dash attack, you have no option. You can't even jump to save yourself. So the wall mini bosses need a name. I've heard of people refer to them as the Contra bosses. I guess they kind of look like the walls in some of the Contra games.
So that second one with the moving platforms in my playthrough, that was one of the sticking points for me, was just getting past this.
Yep. I died so many times to that wall, and I guarantee if you're starting to run this game and you're going to try and do that wall fast, get ready to taste those spikes. A lot. It's deceptively hard, because you look at it as a player, or you look at it as an audience member, and you're a spectator, and you're just like, Roll, you didn't need to prove my point, although I appreciate you. 3 moving platforms, somehow deceptively really hard.
Yeah. And the top and bottom ones are pretty much synced, aren't they? So it looks easy.
Yeah.
It's really not.
And it gets worse as time goes on, because like you start the wall, and then the bottom one starts shooting at you, and then the top one starts shooting at you, and you're just like, well, this is getting perpetually worse. I don't think we've mentioned this about the parries yet, because we've mentioned how strong parries are in terms of like potentially protecting yourself and doing damage. You can upswing a parry. So a really neat strat that I found very useful for the first wall is to strike him as much as I can, and then the bottom one starts shooting at you. If you parry the shots without moving away and then upswing them into the face, it'll die automatically. Because they do just monstrous damage and you hit them with 2. So for everyone struggling with wall 1, remember your upswing parries. It's also really useful in combinatron.
Yeah.
I always question that word.
So I did mention that during the first race, but everything was so hectic.
Yeah. So I guarantee you, I appreciated everything you guys said, but heard none of it.
Well, I mean, what happened was, just as I was mentioning that, that was when 2C was just finishing up. So everything changed, and the commentary kind of went out the window for a few minutes.
Yeah, I was glad we were able to touch back on the first row of people finishing on that race, and I tried to plan it in a way in which everybody was going to get some screen time, which we did, thankfully. I'm glad that some way, shape, or form everyone got some screen time in groups, which was nice. Yeah. But once we wheeled around to like the first group of people finishing, and I don't mean like A or B, but I mean like the first wave of people finishing, it was all so close that I had no help in hell of catching everyone finishing. I was like, well, I need to watch the race time and get an idea of who I should try to move to next. Because I'm like, I'm going to move to this person and they're going to be done. Dragon Balls. So this is the moment we all think we're at when we finish stage 5.
So deaths in first playthrough, do you know how many yours was?
Ooh, I don't recall. I was highly focused and geared towards the feats. I used to be a little bit of an achievement hunter before my speedrunning days, and that kind of kicked in with this game. So I finished the feats in like the first couple days, and I think the only standout thing I remember about my early playthrough experience in terms of numbers would be that when I started my low percent feat playthrough, which low percent is very close to what we're seeing today in any percent, and low percent Roll actually has the world record in low percent, and 2C has the world record in any percent right now. And Roll's low percent time is very, very close and creeping on any percent world record, because the difference basically equates to some HP and 1 SP, very likely, because the majority of our runners pick up 2. So it's when I did my low percent feat, when I started out, I was trying to get Deathless to Dojo before I did that, and I finally got it after playing everything safe. I'm like, cool, it's a load off. Let's do low percent. I don't need to worry if I die. I don't need to keep resetting in the first few stages. We can play the rest of the game now. And then I did Deathless to Dojo accidentally on my low percent playthrough immediately after I did it while getting items. And then when I finished my low percent playthrough, it was in 2.5 hours game time. So I actually got the speedrunner feat, which I was also planning on doing after low percent during my first low percent playthrough. So that was kind of my initial experience with it. It was a lot of fun, and the feats in the game, the majority of them are very reasonable, and a couple are not so much. Post-patch 1 is annoying, I would say.
I think I was around 200 deaths on my first playthrough, which, looking at chat, seems fairly low.
You know what? We've had people, and this is really cool, and like there's a speedrunner section in the Discord, and the Discord is not just a speedrunner Discord. Let's be clear, it's the Cyber Shadow Discord. And there is a very, very gratuitous speedrunner section there, which is fantastic. But I think it's cool because you have crossover. So like we had somebody share recently that I believe his girlfriend finished her first playthrough, and she's not one to play games. And I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing somebody in the casual crew at the moment. But it was just wholesome as fuck. Basically, they shared that she finished the game and she's not much of a gamer, and they posted the end screen, and it was 40 hours, and it was like a few thousand deaths, and everybody was stoked. Like, nobody cares how many deaths the person had. Nobody cares how long it took. The persistence that it took that person as a non-gamer to sit down front to back and finish this game is worthy of an applause. So props to that person. I don't know if the casual crew ever even considers checking out the speedruns, but we saw that moment and we appreciated you. That was great.
Yeah, it's not an easy game. And games are not as hard as they used to be. They're not hard in the same way as they used to be.
No.
There are games which are... Yeah, you could say that games are harder in some respects. But this kind of calls back to that Nintendo hard. Where things are just hard for the sake of it. And to persist through that many deaths and for that many hours...
Yeah.
That's huge. That's a brilliant thing.
Like, I would
Especially
equate that to my experience. Sorry, go ahead.
For someone who doesn't play games, it's really cool.
Yeah. I equated it to like my Kaizo experience because when I started to do Kaizo a couple years ago, a big piece of that is you're going to get bodied a lot. And you need to have the patience for it and not kind of get tilted or waver. And I immediately went to my playthrough of a certain Kaizo hack where I had taken just over 2,500 deaths. And when I finished it, I felt amazing. So it's funny because they're obviously very different games. They're not something you would ever equate side by side as a likeness. But the experience as a whole, I have to imagine, must have been akin to mine with that, and just taking that many deaths and being like, okay, I'm still going to persist. We're going to finish. We're going to do this. So, all right, we're at the let's attack aggressively part. For those that didn't catch that reference earlier and you wouldn't see the text box, that's a Contra reference, for those that don't know. This game is jam-packed with references. You're not going to really see them in the speedrun, but there's like Easter egg rooms with like different groups of robots doing like party music and stuff. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle room that looks like the sewers. There is a Mario Warp Pipe-esque room. Like, go find your Easter eggs if you have not. There is a ton of them. Yeah, and last I even saw, there was still... People were apparently searching for the last secret. I don't know if that was ever resolved.
Go and find the one that we can't find.
You guys haven't found that yet? Okay.
No, it's not been found.
Okay, I have not. I kept up with that for a long time. I dropped off following that probably like a week ago, maybe. But yeah, I saw
it has its own room.
Oh, it does.
On the Discord.
There's literally an unfound secret, according to the dev, and it is so persistently trying to be tracked that there is a full Discord channel of people dedicated trying to find it. Nobody can find it. All right, get your Fs in chat for EXO, of course. First time this race, but not the last time.
And once we find it, we can start with the meme categories, like all Easter eggs. Shouts to the Hate Percent crew.
Look at that. We've even got Speed Crew in here that's not aware of the secret room. Alright. Well, I guess you can almost immediately after, because this is this close of a race, people, you can get your Fs in chat for EXO again. That's how tight this race is.
07s. Ouch.
Oh. UC's gonna lose his SP dispenser as a result. So there's a couple different schools of thought in that section, by the way. After EXO dies, you're left with 1 health, and generally you don't want to drop the 50 essence on purchasing the health refill. Runners either opt to generally take a death on the next enemy, or some will opt to save and quit. Both valid strats. Alright, there's that fast fall we were talking about earlier. 2C was on the screen, and then he was really far at the bottom of the screen.
It's almost like a zip.
It really is. Like, there is no transition time. I would love to see how that's coded from that perspective, because it basically just feels like go from where you are to immediately wherever you impact ground. That's it. Like, I don't feel like there's travel time. I don't feel like there's anything supposed to be there. I just feel like it's you're on the ground. Both runners have had a couple deaths, but, I mean, realistically, I don't think we've seen too much difference in the gap throughout the duration. This is one of those circumstances, too, where, like, 1 or 2 rough deaths in endgame can close this gap. Ooh, roll. All right, so that is a totally normal reaction to have. You get hit, you're trying to get somewhere that's safe up onto a ledge. You think, I can down stab to extend my distance, which is great until you can't grab a wall because you're down stabbing.
Generally into spikes.
Yeah. 99% of the time into spikes.
If it's not spikes, it's into a pit.
Also, point this out in chat if you were also amazed by this. Was anyone else also like genuinely super happy that you can swim? Like, brain going to old platformers saw the water, and like my first inclination when I first saw the water was I'm gonna like fall in and drown like every classic NES hero.
Yep. But for me, this level and chapter 2 is it's Revenge of Shinobi for me. Well, no, sorry, it is Revenge of Shinobi with the docks. So seeing the disposal facility with the cubes of trash is very reminiscent of the factory level.
All right.
Revenge of Shinobi.
We are back on a boat. Yeah. Also, a good tip if you're new to this game, you can skip checkpoints, and I don't mean you can just jump over checkpoints. What I mean by that is if you dash through a checkpoint, you will not activate the checkpoint. So, as someone who has done this and accidentally dashed past the checkpoint that TwoCplus just went by, it makes the boat ride a lot scarier because this is normally a nonchalant, non-thought area, and when all of a sudden you realize that you missed the checkpoint before, and if something were to go wrong, oh god, how far you would go back. It's unusually tense. Yeah, don't skip checkpoints. And that's why Roll stopped dashing where he did there, if you guys noticed that. Like, he stopped dashing well before the checkpoint because you can just fly right past it.
Also noteworthy is you can stand on those wheel things.
Oh yeah, the ones with the like 4 electric corners.
The little cannons on, yeah.
Yeah.
Which once I figured that out, that section was a lot easier.
If you ever need a health refill when you're on the boat, this is, again, one of those situational health drops. You're going to see the robot pop up on Roll's side in a moment. If you're at 4 or less health, the robot will drop health. If you're at 5 or more, it'll drop essence. So just keep that in mind if you happen to need a health refill. Yeah, we see a little talk in chat about slow and fast boat here. There's basically 2 versions you can get, and I don't know if it's based... I believe it's based on how fast you kill the enemies, and essentially what it is, it's kind of like a... the end of the boat sequence can only trigger every so many frames. My god, if you've heard the description of frame rules in Super Mario Bros., you know the bus stop analogy. I don't need to lay this out for you guys. But yeah, it's basically, think of it as like a boat frame rule. 2C with a very clean combinatron. And the dive. Oh. That is scary as hell.
I thought he was going to eat those spikes.
Right at the end, I thought he was going to touch those side ones. Dr. Robo covering off the text version. Thank you.
Is that a copy pasta?
I mean, I don't know if it necessarily is, but it's factually like that is the description. That is how it works.
It's kind of got that rhythm to it, hasn't it? You kind of look at that and you go, yeah, that's been pasted out a lot.
Imagine a bus. No, I'm not going to get you to imagine a bus. Yeah, no, it's honestly, it's a great analogy for anyone that's actually wanting a description of frame rules. It's a phenomenal analogy. It's just funny because like it's been around for so long and I've heard it so many times and I've heard it iterated in so many ways. It's just like, I love it.
Famed Mario speedrunner Darbian.
So yeah, we are on the final chapter. Like, our runners are not messing around here. For those wondering, because I didn't even have the mindset to start a timer because these finals are so hype, we're at 54 minutes and 44 seconds in right now. Believe you me.
Imagine a boat. Yes.
Yeah, we do imagine a boat.
Can we make boat rule a thing?
Yeah. Very nice parries there by 2C. So Spider Rail, surprisingly a complex fight. Watch Roll as he goes in to do the same thing while 2C is making his climb. There's a lot going on in the Spider Rail fight. It seems like the easiest endgame boss, and I know someone mentioned earlier, they're like, is there phase 2 to this? What's going on?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, I did hear something from earlier. Nice. I wasn't completely gapped out.
Yeah, because it's such an ordeal, and then you're like, oh, please don't let there be a phase 2, because it kind of feels like there will be.
Yeah, and it's you think that there will be, but there's a lot going on in this fight. You want to kill the small eyes because it'll cause the big eye to open up faster. In addition to that, if you throw a kunai, which is the charged shuriken right there, at the eye when it's closed, it still damages the big eye and it still takes main health from the boss. The other reason that you want to kill the small eyes before this fight lingers too long is because after a certain number of moves, Spider Rail is going to toss a whole bunch of rings at you, and you basically want to be ready to counter these rings, tossing it back into it. It can disrupt the counter if you're not keeping your cycles and destroying the eyes, and it can also throw off the tracking on the rebound, because normally you're doing a charge parry, and when you do a charge parry, the particles track the enemy in question. So again, if you have extra enemies on screen, really tough. Just like that, 2C has done the climb.
That was pretty.
Very nice finish.
And also done the first phase.
Yeah.
Which, as I was saying before, I found that first phase the hardest part of this fight. I know it's technically multiple fights, but, it's a 3-phase fight.
No, I consider it all the same boss fight. It's one checkpoint beforehand, and it's like, it's all done on one health bar.
Arena.
We didn't note this, but you can see the health that he dropped. We still haven't exactly figured out what caused this. We believe, I guess it's time-based on how fast you beat him. Originally, we thought it may be if you beat him without taking hits that you would get the health, but it seems to be more time-based than anything from what we can tell. But we don't actually have confirmation on why sometimes he drops health, and sometimes he drops essence. So, like, at the end of the operator fight, sometimes he's just like, cash money!
I had that on one of my attempts where I had no health left, and I was like, he's dropping out. Oh, that's not health. Why are you doing this?
Why is that health yellow?
Money at me. This is not helpful.
Progenitor down for 2C. We are just coming up on 58 minutes, so it's looking like 2C is going to bring home, I would say, potentially a high 58, low 59. Roll is not far behind. GG to both. Phenomenal race. Like, front to back, very close the entire way. Oh, the roll's getting spicy there. Wow, look at those parries. The fastest way you can do that phase really is if you set that up properly, you can just parry a wave of those shots into the boss. It's extremely hard to do. You usually get bodied while doing it and take a lot of damage to face, and you lose your SP generator, which can be rough. We are just coming up on race time finish here, so we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, I was saying that earlier. I found the second phase of this boss very easy because you can parry everything.
Yeah. Oh, I've had that happen. The one switch trolling them. All right, 2C coming in. The race time of 59.16. Big GG's. And the winner of your Cyber Shadow any percent ONOT. Roll coming in with a very, very close second here. So, as I was setting up for this, I'd mentioned last night in the Discord that my brain at like 1 a.m. had come up with an idea of something special that I wanted to add. And I had this idea, and I don't know if it was just late night brain kicking in or what it really was. But we're gonna end this in a way that I hope everyone enjoys. And this was the one thing that I was not gonna show off. I showed off a lot of kind of the assets for the tournament beforehand, and a lot of the things. GG roll, nice finish. Official race time of 1 hour and 34 seconds. Absolutely phenomenal time by both of them. So I shared a lot leading up to this in the Discord. Personally speaking, this tournament was extremely exciting for me. So thank you to the community that participated and all took part. Thank you to Bobby and EGAD and yourself, DH, for helping out with commentary. Shoutouts to Carter, who helped me helped me create a couple of race rooms earlier in the day when I was managing the group stage. I absolutely love doing this. This is something for me that is very much a passion project, and I wanted to get outside of doing just charity stuff and just GOC stuff. So I hope you guys had fun. Thank you so much for supporting the tournament and the community for allowing me to do this and to take part. Your ending surprise, and I'm gonna bring up some tunes here while I do this. Keep in mind too, if you guys are part of other communities that do want to do something like this, get at me, hit me up with a DM, get at me in Discord, anything like that. This is something I want to do more in the next year outside of just the charity reasons. So, outside of an ONOT to full tournaments, everything like that. So the special surprise and how we're going to end this is we're going to end this tournament in the same way that each and every one of us and every one of our runs. Are you guys ready? There is your 2021 Cyber Shadow tournament data analysis for today. Big congrats to 2C+, the winner, Roll, our runner-up, Carter Freak, and TKY, our semi-finalists. Thank you, everyone. It's been amazing. Do you have any closing thoughts, DH? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, on behalf of the community, thank you for putting this on. It's been fantastic. It's been great fun. It's been a lot of engagement. So yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your night. And another big thing to keep in mind, and next big event that we have planned is Game Over Cancer. Game Over Cancer submissions are open until the 15th of March. So if you guys have something that you want to submit, this is something that I now typically put on twice a year. All funds go to the Canadian Cancer Society. Last year, across 2 weekends, we raised just shy of $11,000 for them. So that was absolutely phenomenal. If you guys would like to support the cause, not only do we obviously accept donations during that time, we've got prize giveaways. You can do a run. We have people that look for commentary, of course. So if you'd like to keep up with that event, I have a Game Over Cancer section in my Discord as well, so you guys can keep up with all the news there. And that said, let's rate somebody. Like we have to send this off in the right way.